Hello and welcome, dear viewers, to a brand new episode of your show, The Untold. My name is Dajjal Hoteri, and of course, as usual, we get to know more about the untold stories of different individuals. So today, we have a very fascinating guest, an artist, which transforms the empty, abandoned places and large areas to a piece of art. So stay tuned because we are about to meet Mr. Ahmad AlWazzan. All right, welcome back, dear viewers, to your show Untold. And of course, we would like to welcome you, Mr. Ahmad AlWazzan, here with us in the studio.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, you're most welcome. So, first of all, I get excited when we meet new people. So, just give us a brief about who are you to the audience so that we can get started and get to know more about your hobby.
Yeah, of course. My name is Ahmad AlWazzan. I'm a Kuwaiti, 27 years old. I've been creating murals in Kuwait and outside of Kuwait for the past 17 years, which has brought me here today so I can talk about it.
All right, that's cool. All right, so this is the exciting part. I would like to get to know more about the murals because this is the very first time for me listening or maybe reading out the word mural, because I'm used to graffitis and all these kind of things, which we will get into later on. So what actually inspired you to be a muralist, right? Is that how you say
Yeah,
it? Yeah, all right.
that would be the name. I do believe looking at other people's work and looking at the different creations that have been created in different parts of the world was
Hmm.
definitely a huge influence on driving me down that path and have and encouraging me into develop an art form that allows me to also be proud of creating large spaces for
Hmm.
other people to be inspired by, for sure.
But I guess you have to be talented, right? It's
That's definitely part of it, for
yes.
sure. Yeah,
With drawing, I'm bad, but I guess it needs not only practice, but
I do it.
talent, skill.
I would definitely say so. I
Mhm.
think having a talent is one thing, but having the ability to nurture said talent
Mhm.
and developing the talent through tons and tons of practice and experience
Mhm.
and just experimentation altogether, I think that's what makes
Mhm.
a good artist from a bad one.
All right. So just to clarify, we mentioned the mural artist or muralist, but we didn't explain actually what is it, though. I mentioned earlier that it's almost close to something that we all probably familiar with. The what was it? The
I believe it's graffiti.
graffiti.
Yeah,
All right. So graffiti, which is an art where artists draw on walls, right?
right.
Is that correct? All right. Correct me if I'm wrong.
For the most part, yes.
For them. So when it comes to mural art, how is it different from graffiti?
I would say it has to do with the type of art
Mhm.
that is being created on the space itself. Do believe there's a huge difference between what defines a muralist and a graffiti artist.
Mhm.
A graffiti artist, or what some people would call a graffiti writer, is someone who specifically specializes in creating a colorized or a creative piece of work that revolves around lettering. It revolves
Mhm.
around letters, a specific name, stage name, street name,
All right.
something like that.
Fair enough. All right.
Yeah.
So when it comes to creating new art, of course, everyone have his own process to establishing a new thought, new idea, and then executing it on outdoors. I guess most likely it's outdoors, right?
Yes.
Or a larger space, as we mentioned before
Yes.
recording. So what's the process for AlWazzan?
I think the main definition or the main step in creating a mural would be having some kind of design, some kind of
Mm.
sketch ready to be executed on a space. Because when you're working as a muralist or as an artist who specializes on large scale murals, you're not really in the process of creating a new
Mhm.
art piece or a new design. No, you're actually just more of a guy who's printing a creation that has been already created by yourself, and then just executing it on the space itself. Because when you're working with, let's say, something that's 27 square meters,
Wow.
for example, you don't have the time to really
I guess do mistakes.
do mistakes and just like waste a ton of time just thinking on where to place the portrait or where to place set color. The main objective is actually just creating the work as best as you can, and to do so you already need to have a design ready
You have
to
to be
execute
prepared.
it. You need to be prepared for sure.
I mean,
And
sorry to cut you off, but this is really caught my attention here. What if you made a mistake? Is it possible? I mean, it's not a piece of paper. You can just throw it. You know,
right,
it's something else. So, is it possible for you to do mistakes? Can you fix it? It has to be
yes.
precise.
No one is perfect. I'm also subject to making mistakes when I'm executing my murals, but a good artist has the ability to fix said mistakes or rectify said mistakes such that it becomes part of the mural in a way that everyone would find appealing. The only downside of making a mistake is that you are wasting paint, which you already paid for. You're very limited with your resources to create a mural. So therefore, you do have to be precise in what you're creating. But if a mistake ever happens, you do have to keep in mind that you can fix it, but there is a cost involved.
All right, fair enough. All right. So, in terms of location, how do you decide where exactly? Like, is it the client? Is it, I don't know, whoever give permission? Because obviously, you cannot be going out there and drawing anywhere you like. You have to have permission. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that is correct. You do need permission to paint on a space, especially if you're going for a very well detailed mural. Um, I would definitely go for my own preference is a client who has a good space to paint. Some clients would offer you a space to paint, but the space isn't really in good condition that would allow an artist to actually create a work of art in. And in some cases, it's not actually worth it for the artist to create the artwork. In the end, as an artist, I'm not only focusing on creating the piece, I'm also focusing on how can I market the piece. Part of my process is that I'm also involved in marketing my own work, and I'm also
Yes.
involved in presenting my work in a way that I can attract other clients.
So you mentioned conditions, and I guess you have your own, or actually maybe all the artists have their favorite conditions to work within, right? So the environment and all these kind of things involved. So what's the best condition you would love to be in?
I think being in an inside space that's well conditioned is definitely would be my favorite. But there are cases where I don't have such luxury. So when I'm painting outside spaces, I would prefer to be painting when the temperature isn't as hot as it gets usually at noon in Kuwait. And I would also prefer to be working in conditions that allow me to keep on working for 5, 6 hours,
6 hours
sessions.
straight.
Not straight. No one can really work 5 hours straight. I usually work 2.5 hour shifts. But that said, I cannot work when it's raining, for example. I cannot work when...
Luckily, we don't have that much of rain
Luckily,
here.
but we do have dust storms. We do
Yes.
have a lot of dust in the air.
Humidity, the hot
Humidity.
weather, and yes.
Yeah, these all are good replacements for the rain that we're getting.
So you're saying rain is the worst case scenario for painting outdoors.
It depends how much rain. Shallow rain, for example, very light rain isn't really much of a hindrance, but when it's heavy rain, then no, it's a different story.
But most likely you spend your time outdoors rather than indoors, right? I suppose.
Depending on the client, yes.
All right, so both works. Both works. So when it comes to the messages that you send through the art that you create, what kind of messages you typically work on?
When it comes to my own personal
Yes.
work, I would prefer to create murals or portraits of Kuwaitis who are part of the community who managed to achieve wonderful achievements that the rest of us in society can be proud of. I remember I painted a few people. One of them is Badr al-Mullah, who is now an aspiring Kuwaiti astronaut. We have also Ahmad Jamal, who's one of the people who worked on the movie Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm actually taking a look at your account right now, and I'm just
I hope you
amazed.
like what you're seeing.
Everything is just beautiful. I wish that the audience can get to see it, but of course, it's a fascinating work. I can see LeBron James here, right? Is it? Is
Yes.
that, yeah. So basically, it's just beautiful. You also draw on other stuff like cars and shirts.
Yes.
See, this also caught my attention, so we can talk about that. But first, what kind of material you have to start drawing?
I'm gonna have to say my favorite kind of material to work with definitely is gonna be spray paint or some type of aerosol paint, due to its easy application on the space itself. But I also work with brushes and tape and measure and a leveling ruler and all kinds of other tools, just so I can achieve that perfect artistic touch that I'm aiming for.
The angles and all these kind
Exactly.
of
I don't subject myself to one specific tool, but I subject myself to every tool that might make my work easier, for sure.
And I guess with years, your experience just evolved, and I guess this is what leads us to this question: how has your style evolved over the years? Since we do mistakes, and then we learn, and then we try more, and we practice, and have more clients. This client needs a specific theme, and then you have your thoughts in it mixed together, giving us the magic that you draw. So tell us about this.
Well, I think it evolving and improving on both the business aspect and the artistic aspect go hand in hand. As an artist, I always seem to be discovering new approaches to my work, and as I grow older, I find myself more attracted to the idea of creating works of art that are very close to my cultural background, my beliefs, and that kind of aspect overall. And from a business aspect, when I'm working with these different clients that come and approach me for a design, a mural, I always find myself fascinated by the different challenges and approaches that I'm presented with, such that I have to learn to adapt and to just work out some kind of middle ground for both me and the clients, such that we both get a very desirable work of art.
So it's a 50-50 work. It's from your side, their side, and then it's all.
Yeah, because from one angle, you have a client that isn't really aware of what makes a good mural good, and then you have yourself as an artist who's responsible in delivering a good work of art, such that, like I said, you have to be able to market such a work. Therefore, you have a very good idea on what makes a good piece of work. Therefore, you need to have the ability to communicate and deliver the message that this design is good, but there are better approaches than the design you're presenting me with. And that's one of the things I keep finding myself learning over and over again as I continue creating work.
Sweet. All right. So what role do you actually think mural plays in the urban environments?
It depends on the environment itself. I do believe some spaces do not require some sort of mural on a wall, but I do believe there are spaces that I genuinely believe that if a mural is to be created on said space, it would really elevate the space overall. And I think that's what the main objective of a mural is. It needs to elevate the space. The artwork that's being presented on the mural, on the space, needs to be very well executed to accommodate to the interior design, the exterior design of the space, the architecture overall. These are all important factors that need to be determined before creating a mural, or whether I should be creating a mural or not.
All right, fair enough. Thank you for all this information. And I guess we are now at this moment where we have to take this very quick break, and then we'll be back to you, dear viewers, with more. Welcome back, dear viewers, and of course, I would like to welcome back our guest here with us, Ahmad AlWazzan. The topic of today is kind of unique because we never had a mural artist or a muralist, right? So basically, it's very important to get to know more about the challenges that they face and how can you overcome it. And with all the struggles that we have, the environmental ones, probably the place, finding a location, and finding the materials, everything that you faced throughout your years. Please tell us about it.
Well, I did definitely go through my fair share of challenges on both the personal level and dealing with the people, dealing with the spaces.
Mhm.
Uh, as an uh, as an individual, I do find myself always looking back and reflecting on how I approach people, how I talk to people when I want to create a mural, because I'm always whether I'm inside of Kuwait or outside, I'm representing the work that's being created. I do believe one of the main challenges I faced when I create my murals would be the patience and just trusting the process of creating a mural.
Mhm.
Creating murals does require a lot of patience. Not many people have it. I do find myself getting exhausted in many different situations when I'm creating a mural, and I would have to say it is very challenging to be patient, trust the process, and trust that no matter how big of a mural you're working with, it will come to an end,
Mhm.
and it
And
will
then
look the
you'll
way
be
you expect
proud
it
of
to.
what you have
You will
executed.
always be proud of the
Yeah.
work you create because it is always good to finish something
Mhm.
rather than keeping it unfinished.
Yeah, definitely, 100% agreed. Now, is it possible for me as an artist to work in a group, or it has to be just you?
It depends on the person themselves on whether they want to work in a group
Mhm.
or they want to work by themselves. I definitely hold a criteria if I want to work with someone, and that criteria is the kind of work they're presenting.
Mhm.
Some art forms aren't really very appealing to my own art style and would result in both works going below or becoming subpar.
Mhm.
And in other cases, if both artists have a very good art style, if they come together and create a work of art, they will end up creating a very nice, very unique design that everybody would find really interesting and really fun to look at.
I guess the most important part is that they know how to communicate with each other.
Communication is
Yeah,
always important.
it's
Having
key.
a design both parties agree on is always
Mhm.
important. And one of the benefits of working together is always having the ability to create the work faster,
Definitely
which
larger
is, yeah,
spaces. I mean,
exactly.
I'm just thinking, and I just like
Exactly.
from the
Yeah.
pictures I saw, it takes a lot of time doing it alone.
It takes a lot of time, but sometimes as an artist, you find it difficult to find someone to work with
Hmm.
because of the level of work you're creating, the kind of work of creating you're creating. Because at the end of the day, you have your own personal artistic touch that
Hmm.
everyone finds appealing, everyone enjoys looking at,
This is what makes
compared
you different.
to other artists.
Yes.
That's why people approach your work. That's why clients approach your work
Hmm.
because they find your work fun and interesting to look at.
Hmm. Fair enough. All right. So, uh, how do you respond to those or to the critics who say, I mean, drawing on a building, which is, let's say, an old building, a unique looking one, and then you draw on it, and you just ruin the whole idea of a unique building. You get
I
you get the point?
Yeah, I think that there are two sides to the story
Mhm.
for sure. There's the side that people find it unappealing to have people create artworks on certain spaces.
Hmm. So the
For
space has its own character, and then
the
you
space
just
has its own characters.
decided to destroy it for them.
That's one side of it,
Hmm.
for sure. People who create works of art that do not accommodate for the environment or the urban space that's it's being created in do end up ruining the space altogether. However, people who create works of art that aim to elevate the space, that's a whole different story.
Hmm.
In this case, they're creating a work of art that actually aims in commemorating, honoring the space that's being created in.
Hmm.
So it definitely depends on the kind of artwork that's being created and the space it's being created in. For example, if I had a brick home that's been abandoned for 50 years, not well maintained, not well taken care of, and then some person managed to get permission to create a work of art on this space. I'm very fairly confident that no one is gonna be able to miss or be upset that a work of art was created on this space. At the same time, someone might like have a different
Perspective,
aesthetic
yeah.
and just a different perspective for sure on the
I mean, that's
on said
history. You just
brick
ruined
house
history.
on
But
said brick house that's been abandoned and not well maintained or taken care of. And they say like, you ruined the space. Well, if it's a good space, or if it's a space that shouldn't be ruined, shouldn't it be well maintained in the first place?
All right. So, do you actually think that there is a line between art and vandalism?
Of course, that goes back to the question on people saying that you are ruining a space, that you are not creating art.
Almost the same thing.
Yeah. If it's a work of art that doesn't accommodate the space, if it's not a well executed piece of artwork, then for sure you are creating vandalism in this case. However, if it's a well maintained, well executed piece of work, then it will actually elevate the space for sure.
Let's be honest, like here for a real quick moment here. Have you ever been criticized for the work that you have done?
Always. I'm always criticized in one way or another.
And how do you reply to that yourself?
Well,
I mean, this could be also an advice for those who are artists and fear the criticism and the bad feedback from the people. It may stop someone. It didn't stop you though.
You will always be criticized for the work you create, but I do think it is important to differentiate between creating good work of art that's being criticized and then creating bad work of art and then being criticized. I do think as a muralist, you are responsible for creating a work that is appropriate for the public domain. Therefore, having good enough practice, having maintained a specific quality of work in all the pieces that you're creating is very important. And choosing just to create anything you want on a space and calling it art, I don't think that's very fair. For example, if we look at all the electric plants that are around Kuwait City, you would find people vandalizing said spaces with really, they could be called like scribbles and nonsense per se. And in these kinds of situations, I would say that's definitely vandalism. But if it's a work of art that is actually elevating the space, then no, it's a whole different process.
Why not? Yeah, I would love to see that.
Why not?
All right, so I know we have talked a little bit about graffiti in the very beginning. Now that I'm reading this question, it's a little bit funny because it felt like there is a war between graffiti artists and muralists. Because it says here, do you think that it is actually a legit form of art? So is there actually a war like between both groups? I mean, this is
war
art
is a
and
pretty
this is
harsh
art.
word. War is a pretty harsh word. In the end, both
competition.
Both individuals are creating works of art, and a successful artist is an artist who has the ability to work with the community, work with different people in the community, and not really be living in some kind of a solitude by themselves. Having the ability to work with the community, having the ability to work with different artists plays a huge role in improving oneself and actually developing on both the personal and the professional scale.
Fair enough. All right. So when it comes to art, there has to be some criteria, right? So in your opinion and thoughts, what is the right criteria to calling something art?
At the end of the day, I think a good work of art is a work of art that either isn't considered like some form of visual pollution, and at the same time it's a work of art that allows one to think and appreciate that the work that's being created. If it doesn't achieve any of those goals, then
it won't leave.
Is it really a work of art? What defines a work of art more than the people that look at the work of art?
Definitely right. And I noticed something through the social media that it's not only walls, it's cars,
Yes.
shirts. So tell me the story behind the cars.
The cars was done for one of the companies in Kuwait, where I was approached by the client to create a live performance piece.
Oh, so people were watching?
People were watching
Nice.
me create the pieces, and they wanted their cars to be beautified with my own artistic style. Therefore, I started creating this work on two different car models of theirs, and I'm pretty sure they were pretty happy with the outcome, just like I was.
I was happy, just looking at
That's
the.
what matters. That's what matters. Then at the end, would that be considered art, right?
It is definitely an art.
Yeah.
Did you face difficulties, switching from a wall to the hood of a car? It's different materials that you paint on is, I guess, it's something different, right?
Not really. What makes the material I work with special is that it can be applied to different kinds of surfaces.
All right.
It's not really very exclusive to wall spaces per se. So I was lucky from that aspect, and at the same time, I said that to the client, and I'll say it again. To me, whether it's a car, a wall, a canvas, a T-shirt, it's all
What
the
else?
same. It's
Did
just
you
a
have
space. It's just a space at the end, and you're responsible for creating a good work of art on said space. So having a good hand, a good eye is what matters at the end.
I guess if I were in your shoe, definitely I would draw something on my wall, in my room. Do you have something like so?
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. I'll definitely create something that's would make you enjoy looking at the work for sure.
It will make you unique, and of course, looking at the magic that you have, the talent, the skill is just something
Yeah.
fascinating.
And I think like this should be like a message to anyone who plans on like hiring an artist. I think hiring an artist to create your space is a very good idea, and if it's gonna elevate your space, I think you should go for it.
Why not?
But what matters is always keeping in mind that you should be compensating, you should be providing a monetary value to the artist. Unfortunately, there are a lot of clients out there who try to approach artists, whether they're starting or whether they've been doing this for 17 years, and saying that we're going to be paying you for the work that you're doing for exposure on social media. Well, and it's unfortunate, and I don't think anyone has ever been able to live off of likes and comments and shares.
100%, yes. Right, so you know what else is unfortunate? We ran out of time, but I really would like to take this very short minute to tell the audience, tell the people, tell those who are the aspiring muralists, the future ones, a advice. Maybe take care of the I guess the specific equipments that I have to wear to cover their faces, all these kind of
Absolutely.
things. Just a quick one so that we wrap the episode.
Yeah, I would definitely have to say that having good safety equipment is a very important tool to have, especially to keep yourself safe from harm's way, especially if you plan on doing this for many years to come. You want to avoid things such as lung cancer, for example, God forbid. Therefore, having good safety equipment is important, and also trusting the process and creating a work of art that you think and you believe that people will think is actually a good work of art is always important to have and maintain.
All right, that was Ahmad AlWazzan, ladies and gents. We hope you enjoyed this one. So for now, we will take this short break and we'll be back to wrap the episode. So stay with us. All right, dear viewers, that was the end of this episode, and Ahmad AlWazzan was a great guest, fascinating art. I've been, scrolling down the social media, watching the art that he works on. It's just beautiful. It's such a wonderful art. Makes the bad looking, worst abandoned places into a beautiful looking shaped or canvases, I would say. So best of luck for all those artists out there, and we hope to see you again in another episode of The Untold soon. Goodbye.